D-class personnel. You wake up in a concrete cell wearing an orange jumpsuit with a number instead of a name, and the guard who escorts you to testing won't make eye contact. I hate to break it to you, but you're now officially a lab rat with a pulse, and your life expectancy is shorter than my attention span after doom scrolling all day. D-class personnel are the Foundation's disposable human guinea pigs, mostly pulled from death row inmates, though some are just people who ask too many questions in the wrong place. Your job description is simple. Walk into that room and touch the weird thing. What weird thing? They won't tell you. Will it kill you? Probably. Do they care? Absolutely not. A typical day involves sitting in your cell, eating mystery meat, getting escorted by heavily armed guards to a testing chamber, and interacting with anomalies that have already killed dozens before you. Maybe today you're blinking at a statue that snaps necks. Maybe you're speaking to a plague doctor who cures by turning you into a zombie. Maybe you're just walking through a doorway, and honestly, that's somehow worse because you have no idea what's on the other side. The most famous D-class is D9341, who survived a facility-wide containment breach and encountered hundreds of SCPs. He's an absolute legend, but don't be fooled, most D-class don't get that lucky. Most get terminated at the end of the month, which is corporate speak for execution. Some try to escape. They become training videos. A few rare cases prove so useful they're kept indefinitely, which sounds great until you realize being irreplaceable just means more horrifying experiments. Survival rate, 5%. Higher if the anomaly is vegetarian. Lower if someone says, fascinating. Level 0 staff. The mop in your hands has cleaned up more than spilled coffee. It's wiped away blood, strange ooze that defies chemistry. And once, the liquefied remains of a researcher who opened the wrong file cabinet. But hey, at least the pay's decent. Level 0 staff are the Foundation's invisible workforce. Janitors, cafeteria workers, maintenance crew, and administrative assistants. You have 0 security clearance, 0 access to classified files, and 0 idea what you're actually cleaning. And that's by design. The Foundation needs people to keep the toilets flushing and the vending machines stocked, but they definitely don't need you asking why the bathroom in Wing C sometimes screams. Your typical day is aggressively mundane, in the most surreal setting possible. You mop floors and hallways where reality occasionally glitches. You deliver mail to departments that don't officially exist. You fix broken lights in sectors where the darkness eats people. And when containment breach alarms blare, you follow the yellow line to the nearest bunker and pray whatever escapes doesn't take a detour through janitorial services. Survival rate during breaches? Abysmal. You're not trained, not briefed, and definitely not a priority during evacuations. There's a famous incident report about a janitor named Carl who unknowingly cleaned SCP-173's cell for 2 years and survived purely because he was slow and methodical. The Foundation gave him formal praise but never told him why. Ignorance isn't bliss here. It's literally your only defense. Survival rate? 20%. Higher if you never ask what's behind locked doors. Security personnel. The gun in your holster feels heavier every shift, not because of its weight, but because you've learned exactly what it can't stop. And let me tell you, that list is long. Security personnel are the Foundation's expendable soldiers. Sorry, I mean first line of defense. With level 2 clearance, you know just enough to understand you're probably going to die protecting something you barely understand. Your job is simple. Keep D-class from escaping, unauthorized personnel from entering, and SCPs from breaching. Spoiler alert, you fail at that last one constantly. A typical shift involves standing guard outside a containment cell for 8 hours, escorting D-class to testing chambers while they beg you for information you legally can't give them, and running drills that simulate the 37 different ways you might die today. When breaches happen, and oh, they happen, you're expected to buy time while MTF units arrive. And yes, buy time is code for get shredded so researchers can evacuate. The incident logs are basically your farewell notes. Officer Rivera held a checkpoint against SCP-682 for 4 whole minutes and saved 17 people before being torn apart. Guard Chen shot himself rather than let SCP-035 possess him. Your badge has your blood type printed on the back because the medical team doesn't ask if you'll need a transfusion. They ask how much. Some guards transfer after witnessing their first breach. Others develop dark humor as a coping mechanism. Anyway, you've learned to write goodbye texts in the 15 seconds between alarm and engagement. Survival rate? 40%. Lower if you're assigned to Keter containment. Way lower if it's 682, researcher. You've published papers on entities that could end reality, interviewed creatures older than human civilization, And your last experiment required ethics committee approval, which should have been your first red flag, honestly. Researchers are the Foundation's intellectual backbone, the scientists who study anomalies and write containment procedures while slowly losing their grip on conventional morality. With Level 3 clearance, you have access to extensive SCP files and the authority to conduct experiments that would make civilian ethics boards resign in horror. Your job is understanding what these things are and how to keep them locked up. A typical day involves reviewing test logs, interviewing anomalous entities that may or may not be lying, writing documentation that reads like fever dreams, and proposing experiments with titles like, "What happens if we feed D-class to the monster?" You've learned corporate sanitization. Subject expired during testing means someone died screaming, and acceptable losses means you killed people until the data looked good. The best researchers develop reputations. Some have accidentally become anomalies themselves during experiments and just kept working. Others have interviewed SCPs so many times, they're on a first-name basis, with entities that shouldn't have names. One researcher famously survived testing SCP-682's acid by pure luck, and now consults on indestructible anomaly containment. Another got promoted after discovering a loophole in an SCP's kill conditions, by becoming its next victim and documenting the experience before dying. The psychological toll is real. You've watched colleagues die in testing accidents and designed experiments you know will kill D-class. But someone has to understand these things, right? Survival rate, 65%. Lower if you volunteer for self-experimentation. Mobile Task Force Operative. The night vision goggles show something moving in the abandoned hospital. Something with too many limbs and not enough logic. But you've stopped being surprised by what shouldn't exist, because the universe clearly doesn't give a shit about your comfort. MTF operatives are the Foundation's special forces, elite units deployed when regular security is useless, and researchers are actively endangered. They are organized into task forces with designations like Epsilon 11, also known as Nine-Tailed Fox for facility breaches, or New 7, also known as Hammerdown, for open warfare against anomalous threats. And yes, I said warfare, because sometimes the Foundation fights entities using military battalions. Your missions range from recovering anomalies to responding to containment failures, to fighting hostile groups of interest, who also collect weird stuff, but with worse intentions. You've rappelled into buildings where gravity doesn't work, fought creatures that violate biology, and extracted civilians from situations so classified they'll forget their own names afterward. Mission briefs sound absolutely insane. Capture the sentient plague. Don't let it touch you. It will try to negotiate, and somehow, that's underselling the danger. Mortality rates are staggering. MTF Omega-7 tried using SCPs to fight SCPs, and it ended exactly as badly as you'd expect. Tau 5 operatives are literal cyborgs, because humans couldn't survive their assignments. You've lost teammates to things that don't leave bodies, just empty armor and screaming over comms. But this is what you signed up for. You're the Foundation's scalpel when security is a hammer. Every mission is binary. You contain it, or you become a case study. Survival rate, 45%. Higher if you follow protocol. Non-existent if you're Omega-7. Site Director. The emergency phone on your desk has 16 buttons, and you've memorized what each color means. Red is casualties, black is containment failure, white is authorize something horrifying, and yellow is all of the above simultaneously. Site Directors run entire Foundation facilities, hundreds of personnel, dozens of contained anomalies, and infinite liability. With Level 4 clearance, you have comprehensive site access and the authority to make decisions that'll haunt you forever. Your job isn't wrestling monsters anymore, it's deciding who lives when everything goes wrong. A typical day involves reviewing containment reports, approving experiment proposals, managing departmental drama, and preparing for inevitable disasters. You don't enter containment cells. You authorize lockdowns. You don't fight breaches. You decide who gets evacuated and who gets sealed inside to die buying time. When 682 breaks containment, you're the one ordering guards to engage knowing they won't survive. The most famous case is one site director, during a massive breach, who had to choose between evacuating researchers or containing a reality-warping SCP. He chose containment. 32 staff died in lockdown, but the alternative was the entire region ceasing to exist. He received a medal and immediately requested transfer to a desk job at Site-01. You've learned that command means choosing the least terrible option repeatedly. Approve the experiment that kills D-class but improves containment? Yes. Terminate an infected researcher? Yes. Divert safety funding to critical research? Also, yes. The ethics committee reviews your decisions, but they're not in your chair when alarms scream. Survival rate? 80%. Psychological survival rate? Maybe 20%. Ethics committee. You've approved experiments involving children, authorized using sentient beings as disposable tools, and greenlit research that deliberately created suffering. And you sleep fine because someone has to decide where the line is, even when that line is drawn in blood and compromise. The Ethics Committee is the Foundation's moral compass, though moral requires heavy reinterpretation here. You're not preventing unethical actions. You're determining which unethical actions are necessary. With Level 4 clearance and authority even site directors respect. You review proposals and occasionally veto things that even the O5 Council approves. Your job involves reading experimental proposals that'd make civilian ethicists vomit and asking not, is this wrong? But is this necessary? You've approved using D-Class, knowing they're human beings with families. You've authorized keeping sentient SCPs in permanent isolation. You've permitted experiments on anomalous children, because understanding child-affecting anomalies might save millions later. The committee's orientation is blunt. We don't make hard choices so you don't have to. We make them so the Foundation doesn't become what it fights. When researchers wanted to terminate all SCP-1000 specimens, the committee blocked it, not from compassion, but because genocide crosses even the Foundation's flexible lines. When someone proposed creating child soldiers from anomalous infants, the response was one word, no. But you've also approved horrors. You've greenlit slow deaths to study effects. You've authorized torture-adjacent containment, because security requires it. The burden isn't guilt. You've rationalized that. It's knowing every decision defines what humanity means in an organization preserving it. Survival rate, 85%. Mental health survival rate? Don't ask. The 05 Council. The file on your desk contains information that could shatter civilization, and you're one of 13 people who knows it exists. Assuming you're still people, and honestly, some days you're not sure anymore. The O5 Council is the Foundation's ultimate authority, 13 individuals directing global operations with comprehensive knowledge of all contained anomalies, including reality-threatening entities the rest of the Foundation doesn't know exist. Your identity is above top secret. Most personnel don't know your names, and some O5 members have contingencies, ensuring even fellow council members can't identify them. With Level 5 clearance, nothing is restricted, which is both power and curse. You don't manage facilities. You decide Foundation policy across all sites globally. You don't approve experiments. You authorize programs affecting thousands of personnel and millions of civilians. Your decisions span decades or centuries, accounting for threats that won't manifest until you're dead, assuming you can die. Some O5 members allegedly achieved immortality through anomalous means. Others might be clones, AI, or not human anymore. The truth varies by which classified account you believe. Your concerns transcend human scale. SCP-2000 can restore civilization after apocalypse, but using it requires deciding which version of humanity to resurrect. SCP-2399 is hostile alien infrastructure, attempting Earth's destruction, barely held back by SCP-2798. You maintain this delicate stalemate daily. The psychological burden isn't fear. It's isolation and complete knowledge. You know truths that'd drive researchers insane, threats that make Keter-class SCPs look manageable, and you've made decisions history can never know about. Survival rate, 95%. Humanity's survival rate? Depends which O5 you ask. So yeah, the Foundation's hierarchy isn't just a corporate ladder. It's measuring how much truth you can handle before you stop being human. Let me know in the comments which rank you'd be, and subscribe if you made it through without needing amnestics.